Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design High podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Human Design High podcast. I'm your host, Dana Phillips. And today I want to do something a little different. Maybe we'll do more of this kind of episode in the future. But I wanted to share with you today a recorded human design reading that I did a couple months ago. This is going to be done anonymously, so there won't be any information revealed as to who this is. But I thought it might be interesting to share to give you an idea of what a recorded reading could be like and what the difference is between a recorded reading and a human design one-to-one reading. So when I do readings with clients, it's done over a Zoom recording. We are face-to-face. We have the information after doing a intake form. They let me know what it is they want to focus on. And then we get together. It's about a 1-hour reading where we go over certain elements of the chart depending on where they are in their human design journey. So it could be a very basic reading covering strategy, type, strategy, authority, profile, that kind of thing. Or if they have a more advanced understanding of human design and they've been maybe working in their experiments, we can then cover some questions. That is a one-to-one reading, face-to-face, live time. You can ask questions, we can go back and forth, and it just kind of flows. The type of reading I'm sharing today is a little different. In this type of reading, there is the same intake process in that, I have a few questions for you and you can tell me what you want to focus on. And then it is a one-sided conversation. I walk through the chart and let you know what I see, what I think is going to be helpful, most impactful. And of course, this is also done on the level of understanding of the client. So in this particular reading, this person was new to human design pretty much and was just overall curious. I didn't have a lot to go on as to what the person was experiencing in their life. They just let me know that they were kind of new to it. They were just kind of curious, wanted to see what I see, what could be helpful to them. And so that is what I am sharing with you. And I just wanted to give you a taste of that. You will see a chart. So if you want to see what I'm talking about and you're listening to this right now in your favorite podcast app that doesn't have a visual, you can find the video over on YouTube. I will share that as well so you can see how I walk through the chart. And so it's a little different. It's a little more of a starting point for some people, or perhaps you have very specific questions you just want answered. And in a recorded reading as such, so, it's one-sided, this type of reading. Say you don't have the time right now to commit to a Zoom call and you just want the information. You're more of a visual person. You want to hear it because you'll get the video and you get the audio recording as well. Then that's what this is for. It's kind of an introductory step. And I would recommend that if it is the first step that you take, it gets you kind of an idea of what it is to have a reading with me. But then I also recommend taking another step further and entering into a conversation about it, because that's where the real magic happens, especially when talking to me. And how I access information is you ask me questions and my design goes to work, my configuration and my ajna and all this other stuff. It kicks in and it allows me to access the information when I'm talking to you one-on-one. However, in this type of reading, it's very good to get kind of a baseline or just straight to the information that you want. So I hope you enjoy listening in on this recorded reading. Oh, also, they are shorter. They're about a half hour long. So it's not as long as the full reading. and the price point's a little different, obviously, but just to give you that information. If you want more information, you'll find a link in the show notes or below this video. But again, like I said, I hope you enjoy getting a taste of what this might look like, and I really hope that I will be working with you in the future. So enjoy today's episode. I just want to, first of all, thank you for this opportunity for me to look at your chart and to hopefully answer questions that you have had about your chart. In reading your intake form, there was pretty much my understanding that you're kind of new to human design, you're still figuring it out. And so you are questioning probably how to work with your strategy, authority. And so we'll cover that. We're going to cover your profile and elements of your Incarnation Cross and your definition. So I think we'll start there. So first of all, as you can see on the screen here, this is your chart. Okay, first things first is your type and your strategy. And you are new to it. You said it's just this year. Most important to know, you are a generator with emotional authority. And so as a generator, you have this inborn natural sacral response, which generates here in the sacral center. This is your first initial inner knowing, yes or no, if something is correct for you. You know, your sacral response is there to help guide you so that you are correctly using your energy, which you have a lot of energy because you are a generator. You are here to really do the things that light you up. You're here to work, to build. You're a generator. That's what they do. It's what we do. I'm a generator as well. It is your always on energy of life force, workforce. It's also sexual energy. It is the dominant motor in the chart. And it is sustainable energy, meaning that you can use this energy, work all day, and be able to get up the next day, go do it all over again. As I said, generators are meant to respond to the things that light them up, and that's why we have this sacral response. And so when you're first on this journey with human design, that is probably one of the most important things to do, is to really get in touch with that sacral response, because chances are, like most people who discover human design, if you're new to it, you may find that you have been using more of your head your whole life instead of your body. And that's what human design is here to teach us, is that we need to really tune back into the body to know what's correct for us. And as generators in particular, since we have so much energy and we can just kind of push through and do it, it's really not that big of a deal for us. It doesn't deplete us as much. We probably, as you know, you've gone through life, have learned to just completely disconnect from that. And so what that looks like is quite possibly building a life and doing a lot of things that aren't necessarily aligned. And that's what happens, especially at this point and stage in life, is to say, okay, so maybe this part of my life isn't working, this part isn't working, or I feel frustrated, I feel stuck, I don't know what's going on, I need help, I need guidance, I need to know which direction to go. And it leads you, to following human design, because it is your body's way of telling you that it's time to start tuning into that sacral response and start following it and start figuring out if you are in your life using your energy correctly. Are you aligned? So tuning into this sacral response is one of the most affirming and helpful things you can do for yourself. Now, I understand that doesn't mean you can always, depending on your circumstances, just start saying no to everything. And I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm suggesting that you tune into that feeling more often, if you aren't already, and understand and observe what happens when you follow that response of, oh yeah, that feels really good for me. It's me a lifting of energy kind of in that sacral, not sacral, but stomach area. Or it can feel like a contraction, a no, of like, no, definitely don't want to do that. Just kind of reflect in your life and see where the things that really lit you up, where that led you, or things that really contracted you, where that led you. So I always suggest that you start small and you just start asking yourself yes or no questions, or if you have someone in your life that is willing to play along with you, to just do little sacral sessions, we call them, where they just ask you lots of random yes or no questions with obvious answers like, is the sun shining? Is your hair brown? Or, something that can be answered with a yes or a no. If you practice that, you will start to tune into that feeling. I noticed it first when someone would try to ask me a question, as in, what do you want to do today? That wouldn't help me much. But if they would start listing things like, do you want to go for a walk? Oh, yeah. Or do you want to maybe clean the house? Just things like that. So just getting in touch with that sacral response is the first step for you. Secondly, you are an emotional generator, which this here is your emotional solar plexus, and which you have a lot of energy in this gate, but you do have the two channels here, which means you have a tribal emotional wave here. This 59.6 here is a emotional wave, which hopefully you're familiar, but if not, you know that emotional authority, if you have a defined emotional solar plexus, that means that there is no clarity in the now for you, which means you need to take your time to make bigger decisions in life. Now, for emotional generators, this can be a fine-tuning process in a way, because as a generator, you see things that light you up and it gets excited. You can be excited by certain things, but then, if it's a bigger, it's a bigger decision in life, as in, uh, should you take a certain job opportunity? Should you buy a certain thing? Should you be moving? If it involves spending a lot of money, or involves other people, or involves a commitment of some sort, time, resources, money, all that stuff, you need to take more time. You need to honor your emotional wave and check in with yourself to see if that sacral response that you initially had that came your way, that sacral response is staying the same. So that means that, say someone offers you a job, and at first you are lit up by the possibility of this new job. It feels good. It feels exciting. Your sacral says yes. However, I would caution you and encourage you to take your time and say, at least, can I have 24 hours to think it over? Or, try to push it back as far as you can to make these decisions, because that will give you the time to feel into the decision more. Because emotional waves, there's highs and there's lows, right? The 59.6 is a more subtle wave. It's pretty even. It just kind of ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. There can be a little bit more intensity here in this 40.37 in that emotional wave, which can kind of build a little bit and then dissipate, build and then dissipate. So it's a good idea, definitely, for those bigger decisions that require some sort of energy or resource commitment from you, to allow yourself time to think about it. Because what happens is, if you jump into a decision based on that initial, like, yes, because we've all been told, if it's a hell yes, go for it. Emotional authority, not always the case. It needs to be a hell yes consistently over time. And I can't tell you how long that time would be. It's different for everybody. It's just, if you can give yourself at least a day or two to think about things, revisit it. If it still feels really good in your body, then you can proceed. Most importantly here is to tune into the body. That's why you have to really understand that sacral response, because you have an open head center and you have a defined ajna. You do have a lot of mental energy here. And I can tell you that the head center and the root center, these are pressure centers. There's going to be a lot of pressure on you to feel like you need to come up with an answer. Okay. And so when things are presented to you, you need to release that pressure, understand that, okay, this is just mental pressure. I'm just trying to come up with an answer because I feel like I need to move quickly. They need something from me now, and I want to provide it. Don't do that. I advise you to take some time. And also, they say with the generator, especially in the sense of like a relationship of some sort or a job, that when you ask to take that time, don't worry about the opportunity going away. It will still be presented to you. And quite frankly, it makes you a little more appealing when you're not just jumping into everything. So that's a little bit of advice on decision making and understanding authority. Because another thing about emotional authority is that, again, those waves and understanding that your natural emotional state, your emotions are your own. So you're not as affected by others' emotions as someone with an open emotional center would be. You have a consistent way of experiencing this, but it's going to fluctuate. Like I said, it's going to be in waves. And probably one of the best things you can do for yourself to understand your emotional authority and your emotional being is that, as I said, there's going to be highs and lows. There's going to be fluctuations in mood. As an emotional being, you can wake up one day and feel just really down in the dumps or blue or whatever. And I would encourage you to just honor those feelings and try not to attach to them too much. Try not to find too much meaning to them. I know we've all been taught that in this healing journey, we have to understand all these emotions and where they come from. And that's, that's true to a certain extent. But we also need to just allow the space that, as an emotional being, you're just going to have highs and lows. And that's more, when you're in a low, a time to just kind of retreat and tend to yourself and what your body's telling you and what you feel like you need at that time, because that's what it's there for you, especially as a generator. It's this time of reflecting. Okay, another note about mood, let's say, is as a generator, I kind of talked a little bit about having these plateaus in your energy or in your forward progress in life. Generators have a step kind of a stair step learning curve, meaning there'll be a surge in learning or mastery. You'll acquire new skills, new information. You think you're on the right path, and then things just kind of plateau. And this is where generators either tend to usually give up, or they get really frustrated. They change direction entirely. But a good thing to start paying attention to is when you feel these plateaus of energy, to resist the urge to immediately direct course, change, your action, or push things. Don't push things. Generators are meant to respond to life. You're meant to see what shows up in your outer reality and trust that sacral response, yes or no, if this is good for me. Generators are meant to respond. And so, as the generator, when you feel that plateau of energy in your life, and it's not all the time, but you probably have experienced it. I mean, I think any generator you talk about plateau, they're like, yes, I get it, I feel stuck. And perhaps you're in that plateau space now. It means that you're getting ready for the next step up. Something is ready to happen for you, and you just have to really wait. And nobody likes to hear the waiting part in human design, but truth is, we all have to wait. We have to learn how to wait properly. And for the generator, for you, it's taking a little bit of time, trusting that sacral response, see what comes to you from your outer reality, not the mind, and respond according to your sacral response, if that makes sense. So that's the basics there of your type and strategy and authority. You're here to wait, to respond, see what shows up, your outer reality, let the sacral respond yes or no. And then if it's something that's going to require some sort of commitment from you, take your time. However, in your daily life, that yes or no, small things, just follow that sacral response. You know, what you decide to eat, what you decide to wear, when you decide to exercise or meet with people, or any of those little inconsequential things, that is what you're designed to do, is to literally just yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no throughout your day. And so I just really encourage you to pay attention to that, because when you commit to things that your sacral is not lit up about, this is where the generator runs into the risk of burnout, because you can definitely push through a no, because that sacral energy has a lot of energy in it. You can push through it. You can do it. And quite often as generators, I mean, for generations and generations and generations, 70% of the planet are generators. This is what we've done. We've not understood our own power. And so we have just felt that we need to do the work, do the things for other people. However, as generators start to wake up to this information, we realize that even though we have a lot of energy to do the work, we're not designed to do all the work. We're supposed to do what's right for us. And when I'm saying work, yes, it could be taken in an actual work context, but it also could be in the work of building relationships, families. That's what we do. We build families, relationships, communities, actual physical things. We make things. We have the energy for it. And so using that energy incorrectly, or where it's not effective, it's a waste of our energy. And over time, that can definitely lead to actual physical burnout, can lead to emotional burnout, spiritual burnout, all of these things. So that is definitely something that needs to be tended to. And if you find yourself in that space of burnout, to really tune back in to that sacral response. I will say that you are going to probably feel a lot of pressure to do all the things and do them quickly, because as I said, you have this open head, but you also have the open root. And the root center, when it's undefined, as it is here, that is the pressure to really just get things done. It's a very uncomfortable pressure. And when you're around other people who have defined root centers, which you don't know when you are, but if you ever find yourself rushing through things, trying to get things done just to relieve the pressure of having to do something, that also, because you have this sacral energy, can lead to burnout if you're not careful and recognizing that this may just be an uncomfortable pressure that you're feeling from someone else, and to tune back into your sacral response. Do I need to be doing this? Should I be doing this? Those kind of things. Again, your body is here to inform you how to make your decisions, not your mind. So real quickly, the defined areas in your chart, these are where you have that consistent energy, as we've been talking about. And the undefined areas in your chart are the areas where you are receiving energy, amplifying it, reflecting it back to others. So that's why it has that intense pressure there, but also the pressure in the head center to know the answer to the questions. You're always trying to do that. You're always trying to figure out what's inspiring. All these things in the shadow aspects can lead you to always, looking for inspiration, always trying to get rid of the pressure. And then the undefined spleen center here, this is the center of instinct, survival, well-being. The undefined spleen center can be an area where you can, in the not self, they call it, tend to hold on to things a little bit longer than are good for you, because defined spleens and undefined people with defined spleens and undefined spleens are attracted to each other. I don't know if that's the case in your life, but it is good to evaluate your relationships. And if you have a knowing that perhaps something isn't good for you, but you find yourself rationalizing it, or trying to see the better in the other person, or it could be really an aspect of the not self of the spleen center of trying to hold on to something even though it feels familiar and it feels comfortable, that it's not necessarily good for you, and to reevaluate that. Take the time to check in with your sacral, because it will always tell you the right way to go. Don't let the head get involved. So I think it's really important at this point to address your profile. You are a 3-5 profile, which I'm sure you know that. But the biggest thing for a 3-5 profile, it can be a challenging profile, because as a line 3, your learning style is you are here to experiment, and you're here to kind of, it's very much dealing with the physical world of actually getting in there, doing the work, getting your hands dirty, maybe messing things up, breaking things, seeing how it works, put it back together so that you have an understanding of how something actually is. You are, line 3s are the experimenters. They kind of bump into things in life and have to kind of learn how to fix it on their own. It is very much someone who is not afraid to necessarily make mistakes, because you understand that through the trying and just seeing what happens is where you get most of your data, information, things that you need to know, is through that exploration, that trying, and just to see what happens. And to know that not everybody's like that. I am not like that. I like information that I can read and gather and research, whereas your learning style, as I said, is to experiment and explore and experience. You have the line 5 in your unconscious side, which is part of your profile, and the line 5 is the visionary leader. They also call it in traditional human design as the heretic. But really, line 5 energy is a universalizing energy. It is the energy of affecting people at large, or even they say it's affecting strangers of consequence. So what does that mean? It means that the effect that you're going to have in this world is not necessarily going to be just in your immediate community. There are no strangers that you run into. Everybody that you meet, you are destined to meet in some way, even if it's just dropping one nugget of information that could change someone's life. So the flip side of this is that, as such, line 5s have a very attractive quality to them. They have this very seductive quality to them. People are drawn to you because, whether you know it or not, they feel around you, they're drawn to you, that you have something that can help them. This is the line 5 has what they call a projection field around it, meaning others on the outside are projecting onto you what they think you can provide for them. The trick is with the line 5 is that, yes, you do have innovative solutions, ideas, practical ways of solving problems, of doing things. You do have that ability to help people. However, you're not necessarily meant to help everyone. And so you really have to understand who you are at a very deep level so that you can understand how it is you can help people. So if you think about your learning style and the impact you're meant to have, as you reflect on your life, you could probably see where, you're not the person that's going to take anybody's word for it. You're going to figure it out on your own, and nobody can tell you any different. You have to figure it out on your own, and you then provide solutions for people. You provide answers for people. But with all this pressure in your chart to have the answers and to have them quickly, however, you're designed to take your time, even though, you can get there. It's going to be really important for you to understand where you can help. And possibly a challenge you've had in your life is people may have projected onto you things that they thought you could or should help them with, and you weren't able to deliver, and they quote unquote burn you at the stake. It can really damage your reputation, your relationships, because they didn't get what they wanted from you. However, you're not here to fulfill their needs in that way. You are a reflection. You are here to show them what it is they need to know. You can help them with that, but quite often, they may not want to hear it. This is again where strategy and authority comes into play, because as long as you are responding to the correct things coming your way, then that will help guide you towards who you can help and who you can't. That, and having that deep understanding of who you are and what you're about. And so in relationships, this can sometimes be tricky, because you may be accused of believing certain things or behaving a certain way that you yourself know deep in your heart is not true. But no matter how much you try to posit that to the other person, they just don't see it, because they're only seeing what they want to see. So all in all, as a line 5 to know, or as a 3-5, as a 3-5 profile, to understand that you're meant to experiment, try things out, and then from your experience and from your experiments, understand what it is you can offer to people in the form of guidance and solutions and, practical ways of doing things. 3-5s are very practical, because you kind of got that experimental nature to you, and you've tested it. You know what can happen, you know what could help. So understanding that that's part of your path. So understanding the definition there, I know we talked about the defined and undefined areas. I think it's important to touch on real quick. You have a split definition here in your chart. What that means is you can see these two energy centers here are connected, the ajna and the throat. And then you have these 4 energy centers here, the G center, sacral, solar plexus, and the will center, also connected. So that means that you often have this kind of disconnect, and it can take you a little bit longer than others to process information or to be able to get into action. Of course, you also have emotional authority, so that's not a bad thing. But what I find also can happen is this disconnect between what is more of a body sensation and what is a head sensation, is that because of this open head center and this split definition here, that you can spend a lot of time in your head and try to make decisions from your head and not from your instinctual body awareness. There's also going to be, in my opinion, a tendency to want to control that, or feel like you have lack of control, or maybe it's in someone else's control, because you have this gate here, gate 21. Gate 45 is reaching to it. It wants to make this connection here, because if this is a bridge gate, this is a bridge gate, sorry. Because if this were to make connection through either a transit, a planetary transit, so like whenever one of these planets, the sun or any of them, are in gate 21, you have this more feeling of that energy flowing. You can understand how that feels. It doesn't mean you always have definition there. It just means you can feel it a little bit better. But really, it means that this gate here, the 45, is always searching for this energy, because it wants to connect all the energies in your chart. That would get the emotional authority, the will center, all of it. It would get it up to the throat center, and everything would be flowing. And, you may feel that monthly, because the moon is going to transit through all of these gates at least once a month. And so there may be times when you feel more flow and can get things done a little bit quicker. But anyways, so there's this conditioning, we just call it. It's something that is affecting you on a level that may be a little bit more in the unconscious, not really aware of it, is feeling this maybe that you need to gain control, that someone else has the control, that you need the control in order to blah, 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 blah. But that again is just another one of these pressures, another one of these things that you feel that you're lacking, which is not true. It's there, you have it, you don't need it from others, you have it within yourself, and getting comfortable again with knowing that that's just a conditioning response. It's just a pressure kind of thing for you. And as two things as I wrap up, I'd like to just tell you I have a little synopsis of your Incarnation Cross, because the Incarnation Cross is these top 4 numbers, the sun and the earth, on both the conscious and unconscious side of your chart. And it roughly makes up, like 70-75% of your design in your energy expression. It's going to really heavily be felt more. Even though this is on the unconscious side, you're 53 years old, you've probably spent some time in your life on reflecting, getting to know yourself a little bit better, especially as you're going down this path of human design and really trying to understand yourself better. You may be more familiar with how this feels, because this part of your Incarnation Cross, the energy is always on. It's in a channel here. It's connecting these two. Whereas the other one is a hanging gate here, and this is a hanging gate down here. Those energies will fluctuate a little bit more depending on who you're around. But in general, I think a key component here is this 43-23, especially because you have it in your unconscious sun, and it's also in your design Saturn. So there's a lot of lessons here around 23, which is a throat gate, which means it works best in response, meaning allow people to ask you questions. The timing is going to be really important. This whole channel, which is called structuring, is referred to as the genius to freak channel. I'm very familiar with this energy. I have it. It's a theme in my family. Actually, your Incarnation Cross is a variation of the cross of my mother and my son. So, and my son is also a 3-5 with a variation of this cross. And you guys are brilliant. I feel like this cross is called the right angle cross of explanation. And that's exactly what you do, because this channel right here is an individual channel, and it's a knowingness energy. It is literally, sometimes you know things, sometimes you don't. You don't know until you know. You can't always rely on when it's going to be there. But when the knowingness comes through, it's literally like channeling information from the ether, because it's not based on future reasoning. It's not based on past experience. It's like very much in the now, drops in. And what we can tend to do without this awareness of what it is, a tendency to blurt things out. This is the genius to freak thing. I mean, it could be right there in our head, and if we say it, nobody's necessarily asked our opinion or what we're thinking, and we just kind of say what comes out of our head, we could be looked at as like total freaks. Like, where did that come from? What context is that even in? What the heck are you talking about? However, if you take the time to observe the thoughts, you could even ask someone, I have something to share with you. Do you want to hear it? Yes or no? But also, just as the things happen, if you're in the environment, allow people to ask you questions. Allow them to, let your silence be your attraction point for them to ask you what you're thinking. Because then when you do, if you are invited to share what it is you have to say, and this is just in conversation, then your insights are truly transformative. You have a gift for seeing things and knowing things that are totally new, that may not have ever been seen or heard before, and a way to actually take that knowingness, that just pure, where it comes from, you don't know, and it can be expressed in simple, easy to understand language. However, if you're not asked, it can come out as a jumble, and people may not hear what you have to say. That's in conversation. Now, I would say that sharing these ideas and these insights, whether in the written word or in speaking, depending on how it is you want to share it, that's fine. You can do that at any time. You can take that information that you have, if you want to put it in written form, a blog, or you like to write or anything like that. That can still be very transformative information. It is, to me, like channeling information. And I feel that at the right time, the right person will find that and that information will land. If not, it wasn't the right time for them. So anyways, here's my quick synopsis of your chart. And I am reading this. So, or not your chart, your incarnation cross, sorry, the right angle cross of explanation. Your purpose is to disseminate revolutionary ideas and possibilities capable of transforming people's thought processes. You're here to teach and transmit new concepts that fundamentally change the way individuals understand and perceive the world. When the timing and energy align, your unique ability lies in transforming outdated ideas into new possibilities. Your service to the world involves sharing groundbreaking ideas that awaken planetary consciousness. However, you may encounter challenges in substantiating and articulating your knowledge. That's that timing piece we were talking about. The key lies in finding ways to express your ideas convincingly, bridging the gap between the abstract and the practical, and encouraging others to implement and validate these innovative concepts. So all in all, you're a revolutionary thinker. You're someone who is designed to bump into life, explore, you see things differently. You're here to show others new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things and offering them innovative, practical solutions. Now, beyond knowing exactly where you are in your life and what specific questions you have about that path, I'm kind of limited here. Although I would say that I did do a quick shuffle of my cards here, and I did pull a card for you before I did this reading of what it is that you need to know. And the card that I pulled was the Magician card. And really, this card indicates that you are kind of on the precipice here. There is something that you're wanting to jump into or start or create, or maybe it's already there, but there is this feeling of insecurity of not knowing. But what this card shows you is that you have everything that you need. You can trust your intuition. You can manifest quickly if you want to. You have everything you need. I would suggest that to pay attention, that just don't let this open head, this pressure of feeling that you're always needing to answer the questions. You don't need to answer questions. You just need to follow your strategy and authority. Follow that sacral response. See where it leads you. Do the experimenting. Take your time. Really get to understand what it is, and know that, especially with this 14-2, it's going to lead you to your abundance, to your prosperity, this following this, because you are uniquely positioned with this channel. Some people call it the golden ticket. It's the engine of the sacral energy, all that individual energy of what is right for you and you alone, to propel you in the direction of receiving what's correct for you. And so there's many blessings there for you. So as I wrap this up, just let you know that you have what it takes. You can do it. And of course, if you have more questions or you want to enter into more of a conversation around this, you can always book a reading with me where we can do this face to face. We can go back and forth, and I can answer all the questions you have as the best of my ability. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay, so there you have it. That was the sampling there of the simple recorded reading. As I said, this was a one-way conversation. When you book a one-to-one human design reading, there's a lot more interactive elements to it there, and you never know what's going to come up. It's a very free-flowing conversation. But in this instance, I just wanted to show you what to expect if you were to take up the offer of a recorded reading. Also, I hope that even though this was for a specific person, in listening, there's probably lots of emotional generators out there. You got some insight in how to work with your authority, perhaps working with that 3-5 profile. So I also thought that would be helpful just to share with you guys because, a lot of times you don't always know what it is you want to have the answer to, or maybe you're just not ready to book a reading yet, but you are curious and you really wanted to get the flavor of that. And I hope that this kind of could help shed some light on that for you. But also, even if you're not in a position to get a reading, that's fine. So hopefully there was some information there for you that was helpful. And that's really what this podcast is about. I know not everybody's in a position to necessarily book a reading, and I get that. I've been there, and I've often been in a place where something I really wanted, but I couldn't do it. So I listen to podcasts. I watch YouTube videos. I try to get a flavor of it, try to figure it out myself. I mean, I am a line 1, so I'm going to look at all the different ways to gather my information. So anyways, I hope in some way this provided some value to you. So if you are interested in either a recorded reading, such as the one we shared today, or a one-to-one reading, I encourage you to look at the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, check the show description below and you will find the links necessary there to take you to the website so you could take a look at the offerings there and perhaps book a reading with me. So as such, we will just wrap this up right here, put a pin in it, as we like to say. And I once again just want to let you all know how much I appreciate you for listening and tuning in each week. And I look forward to being here next week. So that's it for now, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye. You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.